Welcome to the Genealogy Happy Hour, a place where new family historians can learn to document their family histories and celebrate their new discoveries. I'm Amy.
And I'm Penny, and we're here to help you discover your family tree from the beginning.
Welcome to episode 29. Today, Penny and I are going to talk about what happened on our recent research trip to Ohio. We're going to talk about the surprises, the frustrations, the successes, and someone's failure.
Throw me under the bus, Amy.
But first, Penny, what wine are we going to talk about?
Oh, okay. So we are going to talk about a delicious Chardonnay called At My Best that we found on our first night in Ohio as we're driving into Medina. And I'm driving down the road, and Amy's taking in the scenery, and all of a sudden she yells out, "There's a winery!" I slammed on my brakes. I didn't really, but...
Eagle eye.
And so we decided we would go there as soon as we checked into the hotel.
As soon as we checked into the hotel.
As soon as.
We made a beeline for that winery.
We did. Probably to throw our bags in. So anyway, we get to this winery, and it's called High and Low. Really cute sign. And we walk in, and it is adorable.
It's adorable, yeah. Beautiful interior.
Yes.
It's really comfortable, casual, but very nice. Yep.
And they have an upstairs and a downstairs, and the upstairs is very elegant for more formal parties and whatnot. And they were doing a yoga class up there, and Amy and I both thought if we did yoga, that would be a great place to take a yoga class.
It was a thought for a whole 5 seconds.
Yeah, and they had some really fun stuff. We each did a flight, and they brought our flights in lunch boxes, which were really fun. And anyway, so the one we're going to talk about today is the At My Best, and it has on the front, the labels are very Art Deco labels, and a lady is kind of throwing her sash or scarf out of the car, standing up, and the little license plate says "Oh High Low."
Cute.
Isn't that clever?
That's very clever.
Really clever. And anyway, their description of this wine is says it's selfish, impatient, a little insecure, makes mistakes, out of control, and at times hard to handle, which is pretty fun, but
It was delicious.
It was delicious.
And the food there was delicious. You know, it's a really nice place. So if you're ever in or near Medina, Ohio, definitely check it out.
Definitely. So here we are on our trip, and I will say that Amy has been on many trips to courthouses and repositories. I've only been to some local places here in Tampa, not really on a big research trip. So this was a big learning experience for me, and I learned a lot. I was not as successful as Amy was, but the experience was well worth it. So we're going to kind of take you through our journey and things that we experienced, so that hopefully it will help you when you go on your trips to kind of, note this, or try this, or don't do that, or whatever. Yeah. So we took our flight to Columbus, Ohio on Allegiant, and
it was snowing.
It was snowing when we got there.
That was a little weird.
We were not happy.
It was cold. But we got in the car, we started driving, and we drove to New Philadelphia, which is Tuscarawas County, and found out that even though my ancestors, and this was a kind of a quick trip, I really hadn't prepped for this part of the research. This was kind of like, okay, well, on the way up north, let's just stop in, because this is my Miller family. So already, there's tons of Millers running around Ohio. So, but just let's stop in and see what they have. And we found out that we were very successful in the cemetery, but that they probably didn't go into New Philadelphia to do their legal business, because they actually lived right on the border of Stark, which is the county right above.
Right.
So we really probably should have been looking in Canton rather than in New Philadelphia. So But again, that's something that you have to think about. Even though your ancestor lived in one county, they could have done their business in the next county over because of logistic
Where
purposes.
they live,
Right.
yes.
Right. So, and the family that they married into, he was like one of the first justices of the peace up in Canton in Stark County. So that's probably another attraction to Stark. So at the end of the day, I didn't really find anything, and I have to go back to Stark at some point. And I need to be very prepared because there's so many Millers out there.
Right. And I think after we had hit a few other places, we looked back and said we really should have gone to Stark.
Yeah.
We should have taken the time and done that. Because we were pretty flexible on this trip. I mean, we knew where we wanted to go, but we still had a little bit of flexibility.
We did, yeah. We may have been able to. But anyway, so that was kind of like get your feet wet there with that research. And then we were off to Medina, and that was our first day, pretty much just traveling and then stopping into that one courthouse.
Right.
And then I was successful in getting some photos from the cemetery that I had wanted to visit.
Right.
So that was good.
It was cold and snowy there too as well. Right. So the next day we were up and at the courthouse at 8 o'clock.
Absolutely.
We look and see when the courthouse is open. Get there early. You have no idea how long it's going to take you while you're there. And everybody's really happy and refreshed in the morning and happy to see you.
So we went to the probate. So first thing we have to remember is we have to know what the name of the court, what the name of the offices are for each county. So, for instance, down here in Florida, we have the county clerk's office and the circuit county clerk's records. So you have to know which department and which court handles which records. So up there in Ohio, it's the probate court that handles not over probate. It also handles death records and marriages. So we went there first.
Right.
And we were pretty successful. What happened was I knew that there was a probate for two of the ancestors I was looking for. And I wanted to get the entire record because I had seen online someone had transcribed portions. So we found those, but they had the index online, or it was an internal document on the computer that we looked at. And so on the off chance, I said, well, let me just look up I knew the maiden name of my fourth great-grandfather's wife, my fourth great-grandmother, but I knew nothing else about her family. I just knew that the last name was Marsh. So I said, well, let me just look to see if there's any probates for Marshes here. And you could tell by the number, I could tell by the numbers of the packets that he was like packet number, it was a low number, like 40 or something like that. There was a Marsh there. So I said, well, can I just look at that? Let me just see if that happens to be her father. And sure enough, it was.
So in this particular courthouse, we had to hand over a number to someone of the packet that we were looking for.
Right.
She would go into the back, find a file, and we actually got an individual file with all the papers in it from those probate. So that was kind of fun. I felt like I was on the show. Who do you think you are? Here's your folder.
Right.
Look
What's going to be inside.
carefully. Yeah. So that was really nice.
Yeah. Unfortunately, one of the packets, it only had 2 pieces of paper. And he died, and he was married to his third wife at the time, so it just basically mentioned her name, which I already knew, and his children, quote unquote. So there was no relationships that I could really tie into because my ancestor was, I think, one of his first or second born child, so from 2 wives prior. So unfortunately, that didn't work out too well, but at least I have copies of that now.
Right.
And then I found my 5th great-grandfather, through that probate as well. So once we did that, I ordered copies of everything because
they made the copies for us.
They made the copies for us. The other thing I found out there was a newspaper article written in the 1880s about my ancestors being the first couple who got married in Medina County. So I was like, okay, great, I need this marriage record. And they said, well, no, we don't have that. And so I kind of didn't trust them. So they actually did show me the book. They actually showed me the book, and sure enough, what I found out was that Medina had been created from Portage County 2 years after my ancestor got married. So even though they were the first couple to get married in Medina, it was really Portage County that had the marriage record. So I had to actually, we weren't going to drive all the way over to, I think it's Ravenna, to get that really one record. Right, we'd be backtracking. So I just sent my 25 cents to get a copy of that. I mailed it and already got it back. So that was all good. So again, I really didn't focus on when the county was formed, and knowing that then they were married before the county was formed. I needed to go to the parent county.
Right. So, but it was easy to figure out once you were there.
Yeah,
absolutely. And easily resolved.
Right.
Yeah.
So while we were waiting for the copies and probate to be made, we were successful. We're off to a great start. So we headed downstairs to look for the court order books. It was court order books because the deeds were in a different location. Yeah. The deeds were with the register at a different building even.
Yeah.
So we went down and looked at the court order. Oh, because in one of the probates, it mentioned a lawsuit. So we were specifically looking for that lawsuit.
So we're in the basement of this building.
With a huge big bank vault,
bank vault door. And it was interesting because a lot of the places we went to had bank vault doors.
Yeah.
That's really cool.
Records, which is nice.
I loved it. Yeah.
Yeah. And Medina keeps meticulous records. I mean, it was just beautifully organized. Everything was on microfilm. Most of it was on microfilm. Although eventually they did let us have the book because it was just so much faster to go through the pages of the book, and they knew that we were going to be very respectful with the documents.
Right.
But it was really, really nice.
And Amy, while you were working on all this stuff, she kept sending me upstairs to get things. And probably about the third time I went up there, I was like, they were not happy to see me walk in the door. I was like, I will not come back.
Well, when we got down there, we knew that there was a court record, but we didn't have the right date because it was in the documents that we were waiting to get copies of.
Right.
So Penny went back upstairs to get the copies so that we could have a more successful search. At the end of the day, we never even found
Never did.
We never found the record. So, which was kind of interesting. But
it was fun looking. It was fun looking, and we hit the library. As well.
Yep.
And you found a great story in, or that whole write-up about the first married couple.
The first married couple, right. So that was, and again, it was nice because it helped then solidify the fact that, it did mention her dad there, and now I have his probate, and it all tied in really, really well. So there was a couple of good local histories that were there in that.
It was a great find.
It's a beautiful library, too. They have a beautiful research library there. A whole research room just of local history and of Ohio history too. They had other counties there as well. They had some of the early maps of the county, and so it was really lovely.
It was.
So Medina was it's a beautiful little town too.
Medina was great.
Beautiful town, great wine, lots of good documents. Yeah. I had a wonderful day.
You did, and I think we were in bed by 9.
We were exhausted.
We were so tired.
We were going to go back to High Low, the winery again that night, and we were just like.
We were so tired.
We were wiped. Yeah.
Couldn't do it.
Yep. So it was great. Success. So
started off great.
Because of so much success, we decided at the last minute that we were going to get up early in the morning and drive to Elyria, which is Lorain County, because you said you had a marriage record, right?
I had the marriage record. I already have it, but it would be just, I thought, I can see it in person. It'd be kind of fun to see it in person. And you had a couple things that you could look
there
up
there. There was a probate there that I found that we needed to go up there and just said, since we're so close, let's go get this probate and look at the probate. So we went up there, and it was a completely different scenario.
Completely different.
I mean, we're still going to probate. We still go to the probate department, and that's where the marriages and the probates are kept. But microfilm, everything was on microfilm. It was not well organized. And the film was from 1955, and it was not good quality.
One of us had a lot of difficulty printing off the
It was terrible. It was just like black. It was just a black, it was terrible. So, but Penny came through because we found in the microfilm, in the jumble, we found the tape. You put it in, and you were able to locate the actual will. And sadly, I found out that was his son, his son with the same name,
Boo.
rather than the father. And I was hoping it had been the father's record, but it turned out to be the son's. So
But at the time, we were celebrating.
we found it.
Like, yay!
So,
oh my gosh.
Yeah, so it was kind of a mixed bag there. So we just got that, and then we left because the records were not that accessible.
And that office, you were right in the middle of everybody that was working there. Mm-hmm. They had like this big area in the center. The microfilms were all along the wall, and one tall cabinet in the middle with the books for the indexes, and then the 2 machines. But you were just working right there along with everybody else in the office. So that was interesting. Mm-hmm. Yeah, very different.
Yep, it was very different.
Very different.
So that only took us a couple hours, and then we headed southwest.
Yeah,
we headed southwest because we were on to the Burks. We spent how many more days with the Burks? We spent 3 days.
3 days.
3 days with the Burks.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Do you hear the angst in Amy's voice?
And how many counties did we do? Because we've been to 3 counties so far. Yeah, so we did 7 counties for Burks.
7 counties.
7 counties for Burks.
Stop it.
Okay.
One of them was for Herman. All right, well, let's get on with it. We went to Wyandotte County. And beautiful courthouse.
Oh my gosh, gorgeous courthouse. Yeah, really beautiful courthouse.
Gorgeous.
Yes.
And there was nothing there.
Nothing.
Although they did offer up the Shawshank Redemption tour.
Yeah,
because apparently it was filmed there. So we thought of just ditching everything else and going on that because we were so disappointed.
Penny was a little frustrated, and she's like, "Let's just do the Shawshank Redemption tour."
But we didn't.
Because they talked. It's also, it's not only a beautiful courthouse, a beautiful building, but well kept documents.
Yes.
The probate office, very nice. We went down to the deeds. We looked at the deeds. They were very helpful, and they're the ones that encourage us to go over to Crawford County because it's only a 20-minute, 15-minute drive.
It wasn't far.
Yeah, and your people had been in Crawford in one census, right?
It's listed that he was born in Crawford, but Crawford, Wyandotte, which really isn't anywhere near Crawford County.
Right, it's actually up north. Near the northern.
But we went to Crawford County, and again, nothing there. So that was a wasted trip.
And those records, not so. It was a jumble. The downstairs was really nice. The probate and the marriages were really nice. But then the court order books were upstairs in that dusty, small room. And they weren't in order. They were kind of, people had picked them up and put them back wherever. And so we kind of poked around up there.
Yeah, and they had a lot of backwards hallways because we had to go downstairs as well.
Yes.
And I don't think I ever could have made it back upstairs because you said, I'm going to run back upstairs. And I was like, good luck. We may never see you again. It was a little confusing.
But no John Burks.
Nothing.
Yeah, nothing. All right. So then we decided, we called it a day at that point, and we made it we started going back to where we were staying that night, which would be Wood County.
Yes.
So we're driving along and talking about what we're doing for the next day, and then that's when you said,
all of a sudden, like I don't even remember what triggered me, but I said, "Oh, we need to look for cemeteries. I know there's a cemetery here in Hancock County that I wanted to see." And we had just crossed the border, going from Wyandotte to Hancock, heading north. And I told you what it was. It was the Van Horn Cemetery. And you're like, "Oh, I'll look it up on my phone." And I promise you, Amy said, "I'm going to look it up on my phone." And she goes, "Turn left." It was right there.
It was
on this
so strange.
Little road. There was nobody out there. Yeah, and this cemetery is behind somebody's barn. There was a
there's a house like right there. Yeah, it's right. Yeah, there's a
nice cemetery. It wasn't big.
It was, yeah.
So this is where my grandmother said John Burke and his wife Ellen were buried.
And we walked it.
They are not there.
Well, if they are, they could be. There's a big area of no markers.
There is. There is.
Ellen's brother.
Her brother is there. And her brother was the one who took their children.
Right.
She died in 1871. John died in 1872. He was the guardian of both their children and immediately farmed them off to adoption and apprenticeship. So, not a big fan of this guy, but he's he's buried there, and So I think they are there.
Yeah. It's most likely.
I have to do a little more research on that one. But it was just so fascinating that we were just right at that
The minute you
moment.
said, let's look at that, it's a cemetery, and I looked, and it's right there.
Yeah.
We were driving right by it. It was
Yeah.
great. So that was great.
So that was a good stop.
It was a good end of the day. And it was nice to get out and walk around outdoors a little bit. So.
Absolutely. So the next day we are in Findlay for
Well, we went to Wood County.
Wood County.
Yeah,
Right, we're in Wood County.
We went to Wood County in the morning, first thing, because we were in Wood County. We stayed the night in Wood County.
In Wood County, I was not looking for John Burke. I was switched over to Adolph Herman. I was trying to see if he had naturalization papers, and that was the only thing I was looking for. No.
Nothing.
Nothing. Of course he didn't.
No.
Why would any of my ancestors do anything in federal court?
But it was very nice, nicely organized. Courthouse, beautiful courthouse.
Yep.
And that was another beautiful courthouse, you're right. But nothing.
Yeah, nothing there.
Nothing. And the genealogical society, the county genealogical society had indexed a lot of the records.
Yes.
So they had those, they were using the genealogical society's indexes, which was really cool.
Yeah.
Yeah. But nothing.
No. So we left there and headed to Findlay.
No, we had to
No,
Henry
I can't even
County.
remember. No. Henry County was the last day.
No, it wasn't. Henry County, look at the
Don't
map.
confuse me.
Henry County is right next to Wood County. Napoleon, right?
Yeah. Oh, you're right. Okay,
Yeah.
we drove across to Napoleon.
Right, which was a total bust.
Right. Also a total bust. Although, I loved their office there, which was
nice.
fun because they just sent us into the room with all the books and
Very nice. They were
very nice. We couldn't pull things ourselves. We had a couple packets and they came in and they were all up on this second level and
Like a
they pulled
catwalk.
the
with a beautiful iron staircase.
So they pulled the things for me. Now, I will say another note to self, do some preliminary or better preliminary research. I thought I was really on top of things, but when we were leaving and sitting at the airport, I started thinking or going through some of this stuff and going back to the Burkes. My John Burke had a brother, James Burke, who lived in Deschler, and I wasn't even thinking about him in Henry County. I was looking for other things, and turns out there was a probate for him that I could have gotten while I was there.
Yeah.
But I did order it when I got home, and they sent it to me, and guess what?
Just no information.
Nothing.
Yeah.
Absolutely nothing.
Because that's a good point to bring up, that oftentimes we're so focused on trying to find the parent of our ancestor that we don't think about looking at the siblings. Because
Right.
those siblings could have left clues to their parents,
Right.
which would be also our ancestors' parents.
Right.
So, yeah.
And I just wasn't thinking about him being in Henry County. It just wasn't.
Or at least you
making
could have gotten a clue
connection to me
that
for
would have for sure linked them, because the only thing
Right.
you have linking him to your John Burke is that one census, the 1860 census.
Yeah.
Is that right? So that maybe you could have had a clue, my brother John or my nephews, but
Yeah.
nothing.
Hoping that he would have listed a nephew or something.
Yeah.
That was my goal, but
Yeah.
he didn't.
Yeah.
So,
So
anyway,
then we headed on down to Hancock.
finally, yes.
Yeah.
Take better, and don't do like I do. Take better notes of where you went and when you were there, because this was a lot going on, and I was just.
We did.
It was kind of
10 counties
overwhelming.
in 5 days. We did a lot.
We did a lot.
Plus driving.
You have a
so.
much better memory of it than I do, though. But I did enjoy being in Hancock County, though.
Yeah.
That was nice.
It was nice. So Hancock County was a little fruitful, because you got Edward's probate and
A lot of
his wife's
stuff
probate
on Edward Hill,
So
the guy
yeah.
that farmed off my family. But yes, a lot of stuff about him, hoping that there would be a mention. Nothing.
Nothing. Yeah. Although there were some mention of some other people in there that you kind of want to try and figure out how they fit into the family.
Yeah,
So there's
some little mysteries. Like he's got an Earl and a Pearl. There's an Earl and a Pearl that show up in the Henry County groups, and they're not the same, but it's just kind of weird that all these people are named Earl and Pearl, and then the last name Shuck showed up, and that was who he had apprenticed Calvin to.
Right.
So
How
there
does-
are some things
right.
that can be delved into a little deeper there to see some of these relationships, these friends and family things.
Yeah. So that was so we got some. You got some stuff there at the courthouse, and then we went over to the library because they have a really nice genealogical library or a genealogical center at the library. So which is right across the street from the courthouse, which is very convenient.
Yeah, and they did have a book there on that Van Horn Cemetery of everybody that was buried there, and of course John and Ellen are not listed. But that does not mean they're not there. They could be in the unmarked graves. But so that was a nice visit.
Yeah. Maybe you can track down the sexton of that cemetery or find the cemetery records because I'm thinking that book was probably just transcriptions. Off the headstones.
Yeah, I agree.
Yeah. So that was the end of our day. What was that, day 4? That was day 4.
That was day 4.
Yeah.
So we were tired, and we decided that 4 days was probably a good amount.
The 5th day was hard.
It was hard. Yeah. It was a hard day, and it was crazy. We drove all the way down to Montgomery County. So we were in Dayton.
Yeah.
I went to college in Dayton for 2 years. I didn't think I'd ever be back in Dayton, Ohio, but there I was. And we went to the big courthouse and got all the way up to the whatever floor it was, and she's like, "Oh no, you need to be in this other building." And we asked her if we could walk there, and she said, "I wouldn't walk there." And we're like, "Well, how far is it?" And it turns out it was only a couple blocks. So we're like, "Yeah, we can totally walk this."
Yeah, it was really windy that day though.
It was very windy and maybe not a great section of town.
Kind of sketchy neighborhood. Right. But again, we've been in these smaller courthouses where they're still using the original, brick and stone buildings, and then Dayton, which is a much larger city.
Very modern.
We have a modern courthouse there, and so of course they don't house the older records there. So they sent us to the archives, which was kind of cool.
It was.
Yeah.
So it was up on the 7th or 8th floor of a building.
An older building.
You could hear the wind whispering through the things. And we found a couple things there, some possible John Burke things. I don't think anything's really going to pan out, but that was a really nice facility as well. It was a nice
facility, and they were very helpful.
Very helpful, very helpful. Yeah. And as we trekked back across to Columbus, we stopped in Greene County because I know my Burkes lived in Bath. And again, that facility was nice. It was off-site, as well, in a strip mall, actually. Yeah. Which is very interesting.
But I saw that on the wall they had a certificate where they got they've been award. They received awards for their archival work that they have done there. So
it was nice. Really well done. Really well done, and the lady working there was really helpful. Again, nothing. No, but then the last thing that happened to us was another weird situation. So we drive back over to Columbus. And we're tired. We just want to go to the hotel and get some dinner. And we're pulling off onto where our hotel is over to the left, but the police are all over. There was an accident. It was a fatality, actually, which is really sad. But we could not get into that left lane to get to our hotel. So Amy's like, well, let's just go to the right and we'll go get some food, and then everything will have cleared up by the time we're back. I'm like, okay. And as we're driving to get to find Amy had found a restaurant on her phone, and as she's so good at doing, and we're driving along, and I said, my mom really wanted me to stop and take pictures of the church they got married in, and I said, I'm not doing it. I'm tired. It is not happening.
Peggy, don't listen.
We're driving down the road, and I'm like, oh, this is High Street. Wait, wasn't that? And then we passed Moeller Avenue, and I'm like, wait, Moeller Avenue, that's where the house is.
And Columbus is a huge city. This is the capital of Ohio, so what are the odds?
The very next street was where our restaurant was. Yeah. We could have walked to the house, which we didn't. We drove there afterwards and got a picture of the church and the 2 houses she wanted. Yeah. So it all worked out.
We ended up eating in that neighborhood.
Really strange. Yeah. Really strange.
Yeah. And then we stopped at the cemetery on the way back to the hotel.
We did. Where my grandmother was buried.
Your grandparents were buried.
Yeah, my grandparents.
Yeah. So it was. Got a picture of that. That was successful.
That was success.
Okay.
Yeah. So some quick tips that I will say, especially on a couple stops that we did at cemeteries where we had a photo of the stone, or we knew it was in there in the cemetery, and we even had a map, but it was hard to find. When you take a picture in the cemetery, take several or take something with something very distinct in the background. Because the picture we had wasn't super distinct, and it turned out, as Amy found, that the headstone was flipped over.
Yeah, right.
And the picture that I had wasn't even the correct headstone. And so we solved that mystery.
Yeah.
So I know when we took pictures, we took several from different angles, so you'd be able to find it again easily.
Yeah. That's right. We did spend a lot of time in the Hancock County Cemetery looking for, even though it was sectioned and it was indexed online.
Yes.
It was like, okay, where is that?
Looking
and then
for
we couldn't get internet. Although I will say that on all of the Ohio courts we went to, we were able to take our smartphones and our tablets and our iPads in. So that was nice. Electronics were fine, and they said it was okay for us to take pictures with our phones. So we took a lot of pictures, especially the deed books, because there's so many of those. We took all the pictures of those.
I would say a tip for that is when you take the pictures, because I know in going back through everything, I wish I had written down, as well as the pictures, what I was taking a picture of, and that would just make it a lot easier to identify without having to click on the picture, enlarge it, go through it. Oh yeah, that was the whatever it was that I was taking pictures of, because I didn't find anything, so I don't even know what all these documents I was taking pictures of. But I did take pictures of things.
So what we did was we took pictures of, we would pull one book, like for instance the deed books. We'd pull one deed book, we would take pictures of all of the 8 pages we wanted, and then we would take a picture of the cover of the deed book, so we knew which book they came from. So in our next podcast, we're going to talk about what we did with all of the information when we came home. So that was important to make sure we took a picture of the book itself, so we knew, because we went through at least 10 books sometimes, 15 books. So
packets, all kinds of stuff.
But when you have that one picture that says page 25, well, what book did that come from?
Right.
We need to make sure we have our citations correct as well.
And make sure you do it in the same order all the time. If you're going to take pictures of the documents book later, don't switch it up next time, because it'll just confuse you.
So at the end of the day, if you feel like maybe a 4-day research trip would be...
I think 4 days, perfect. I think this was a lot of fun and such a good experience, and I would encourage everyone, even if it's just to a local courthouse and you don't even have anybody there, just go there and have that experience of what it's like to be in a courthouse. I was lucky to go with you, who had some experience, and... I thought it was great.
It was a lot of fun.
Yeah.
So, all right. So our next podcast, we're going to talk about what we did with all of the finds, all of the wonderful things and documents we got, and information that we found when we came home.
And those things will also be useful even if you didn't go on a research trip, but you just have a lot of information that you need to process.
That's true, because we do find a lot. We love the search, and we love to find, but then we have to be able to really bring that back into our research the right way. So until next time, cheers. Thank you for listening. Please email us with any questions or comments at genealogyhappyhour@gmail.com.
Visit our website, www.genealogyhappyhour.com, for additional resources, books, and wines. Don't forget to drink responsibly
and never drink around genealogical documents.